A world rebalanced, the Great Trade Realignment. In the past, global trade seemed predictable, almost routine. But today, the landscape has shifted dramatically, and the world is witnessing a profound transformation in how nations exchange goods and build economic partnerships. The world of global trade is no longer flat, it's been tilted. The familiar patterns that once defined international commerce are being disrupted, replaced by new alliances and unexpected routes. A powerful realignment is redrawing the map of international commerce, as countries rethink their priorities and seek out new partners to secure their economic futures. For decades, the U.S. was the undisputed center of global trade, a hub for manufacturing and distribution. But now, on September 4, 2025, we see the consequences of years of disruption and shifting policies. 7 key manufacturing nations have pivoted their steel and aluminum trade north to Canada, redirecting billions in commerce and reshaping the industrial landscape of North America. This isn't just about cargo ships or trade statistics. It's a sign of deeper changes in trust, strategy, and the search for reliable partners in a volatile world. Countries like Germany, Japan, and others are diversifying supply chains away from the U.S., seeking stability, predictability, and rule-based partners who can offer long-term security for their industries. The 2018 U.S. tariffs, justified by national security, shocked allies and introduced a new level of unpredictability into global trade relationships, leaving many to reconsider their options. Allies now question if the U.S. can be relied upon as a primary partner, or if future policy shifts could once again upend established agreements and supply chains. The decision to strengthen ties with Canada is a direct response to eroded trust, as nations look for new anchors in a sea of uncertainty. These nations aren't abandoning North America, they're hedging their bets, spreading risk, and ensuring that their economies remain resilient in the face of future shocks. Economic nationalism has been tested, and the results are clear. Unilateral moves have long-term repercussions that ripple across borders and industries. The realignment toward Canada is more than a shift in trade routes. It's a reconfiguration of the global economic web, with new connections forming and old ones fading. This is a story about tariffs, but more so about trust, resilience, and the ongoing search for stability in an uncertain world, where every decision shapes the future of global trade. The American fortress, an idea that has shaped the nation's economic destiny for centuries. A history of trade walls. These barriers, both physical and economic, have defined how America interacts with the world. To understand today's trade shift, we must look back at the long and complex story of American trade policy. U.S. trade policy has swung between openness and protectionism, often reflecting the mood of the nation and the pressures of the global economy. In its early years, America relied on high tariffs to shield its young industries from foreign competition, sparking internal divisions and sometimes leading to unintended economic consequences. After World War II, the U.S. took a different path, championing free trade and helping to build global institutions like GATT and later, the World Trade Organization. This era of open markets lifted millions out of poverty worldwide, fueled rapid economic growth, and created immense wealth for many nations. But by the late 20th century, the tide began to turn. Globalization, once seen as a force for prosperity, started to feel threatening to many Americans as factories closed and jobs moved overseas. Protectionist ideas resurfaced, fueled by economic anxiety, political frustration, and a growing sense of unfairness in the global system. The 2018 tariffs were not an anomaly. They were the result of a growing backlash against the very global system the U.S. had helped to create and lead for decades. The swing back to protectionism marked a dramatic departure from the post-war consensus, signaling a new era of uncertainty. The world was about to witness what happens when the architect of the global trading system begins to tear down its own walls, both literally and figuratively. Trade policy became a powerful tool for political gain, shaping elections and public opinion, not just economic strategy. The consequences of these choices would soon ripple across the globe, affecting economies, workers, and communities everywhere. Section 232, the tariff heard round the world. Section 232 of a 1962 law let the U.S. president impose tariffs for national security. Rarely used, it was revived in 2018 to target steel and aluminum imports, even from close allies. The justification: a strong domestic metals industry was vital for security. The result: 25% tariffs on steel, 10% on aluminum, globally. Allies saw this as protectionism, not real security. The move undermined alliances and created global uncertainty. Businesses and governments realized relying on the US was now a risk. The search for more stable partners began. The Canadian magnet Why Nations looked north. As uncertainty spread from Washington, manufacturers sought a stable, reliable partner close to the US market. Canada became that partner, not by changing but by staying predictable and committed to free trade. Trade deals like the CPTPP and CETA gave countries like Germany and Japan preferential access to Canada. Canada's political stability, skilled workforce, and familiar business environment made it attractive. Companies could serve US customers from Canada, but anchor investments in a more reliable country. Canada became a safe harbor in a stormy global trade sea. This was a business calculation to protect supply chains from disruption. The 2018 tariffs proved the US could cause sudden shocks. Diversifying to Canada became insurance against risk. By strengthening Canadian ties, nations bought predictability. In today's world, stability is the most valuable commodity. The shift was about more than metals, it was about trust. Germany, Europe's industrial powerhouse, was once the cornerstone of the transatlantic alliance. Its economy thrived on exports, with the US as a key market. The Section 232 tariffs on steel and aluminum struck at the heart of this relationship. German leaders saw the move as protectionist and insulting. This forced a strategic rethink. If the US could impose tariffs on a whim, what might be next? German industry began pivoting to Canada, investing in plants and supply chains there. The CETA agreement made this shift even more attractive. North America became two markets, the US and a lower-risk Canada. Future German investment is now more likely to flow to Ontario or Quebec than to the American South. Germany remains a US partner but is no longer dependent, building a parallel track in Canada. The transatlantic relationship is being rebalanced, one investment at a time. Japan, like Germany, built its economic miracle on partnership with the US. The 2018 tariffs were a rude awakening. Japan was suddenly treated as an economic adversary. The national security justification was jarring, given deep military ties. Japanese leaders, who value stability, saw the US as less reliable. Japan responded by accelerating economic diversification. It led the CPTPP, creating a massive free trade zone excluding the US-Canada, as a stable CPTPP member, became a prime destination for Japanese investment. Japanese supply chains are now being re-engineered to source from Canada. This isn't about abandoning the US, it's about building resilience. Securing supply chains is now a matter of national economic security. The trade realignment has created clear winners and losers in North America. Canada is a major winner, attracting foreign investment and creating high-paying jobs in manufacturing. Canadian ports are busier and the Canadian dollar has strengthened. For the US, the picture is mixed. Tariffs gave some steel mills a temporary boost but raised costs for manufacturers. American companies faced higher input costs, lost competitiveness, and some laid off workers. The policy designed to create jobs ended up threatening more than it saved. The pain was concentrated in manufacturing-heavy states. The tariffs acted as a tax on the broader economy. The shift of 7 major partners to Canada is a long-term loss for the US, jobs, investment, and global business leadership. The economic ripples will be felt for years. The dramatic shift in global trade is best understood through the stories of 2 workers whose lives have taken very different paths. In Hamilton, Ontario, a steelworker experiences a wave of new orders, advanced training programs, and a sense of optimism as foreign investment and technology pour into her workplace. Her community feels energized and connected, believing they are part of manufacturing's future, not its past. Meanwhile, in Ohio, an auto worker faces mounting challenges: higher steel costs, lost contracts, and a growing sense of job insecurity as factories struggle to compete. The promise of a revived American industry feels increasingly hollow as prices rise, paychecks shrink, and once busy plants fall silent. In Canada, the shift brings not just jobs, but new opportunities for innovation, skills development, and a renewed sense of confidence in the future. Investments are now focused on advanced manufacturing, automation, and integrating into global supply chains, making Canada a hub for modern industry. In the US, the impact is deeply divisive. While a few benefit, many more are left behind, fueling frustration and uncertainty. Tariffs were meant to protect American jobs, but instead, they often preserved outdated industries, deepening economic anxieties and failing to secure a brighter future. The Canadian worker now builds for a global market, while the American worker faces an uncertain path, unsure where the next opportunity will come from. The fates of these two workers highlight the starkly different outcomes that result from two contrasting approaches to global trade and economic policy. This story is not just about economics or policy, it's about hope, resilience, and the real hardships faced by families and communities. The choices made by leaders and industries have shaped the destinies of workers on both sides of the border, leaving a lasting impact on lives and livelihoods. As 2025 ends, the lessons of this trade shakeup are clear. The global trading system adapts by rerouting around disruptions. The pivot from the US to Canada shows that economic power now depends on trust and predictability. Efficiency once drove global trade. Now, resilience and security matter more. Companies and governments pay a premium for stable partners. The just-in-case world has replaced just-in-time. The US can no longer take its central role for granted. Trust, once lost, is hard to regain. Rebuilding trust requires stable policies and renewed alliances. The world has shown it can create alternatives. The US must choose become the most reliable partner or risk further isolation. The attempt to build an economic fortress has empowered competitors and allies alike. The path to prosperity is through smart, strategic integration, not protectionism. The new global order values predictability above all else.